And right now, I want to welcome back to the Steele Report Troy Belmer. He is one of the co-founders of the Suicide Awareness and Prevention organization based out of Dunkerton called Alive and Running. There's a website on your screen right there. Troy, welcome back to the show. We just went through Suicide Prevention Month in September. October, though, is going to be a big month for your organization because somebody special is coming back to give a presentation. Why don't you talk a little about that?
Yeah, absolutely. We would have loved to have it in September, just the schedule didn't work out, but we are bringing back Emma Benoit. She has been up here numerous times to Iowa, and she really likes it here. She's trying to convince her to move, but she's not ready to do that yet. But she has an amazing story that she put together, a documentary called My Ascension, and it walks through her suicide attempt as a teenager through her life now, and she's 24 years old now. So it's been phenomenal to have her around. So we'll show the film, and then she'll be available for a live Q&A, which is what she would consider to be the meat and potatoes. You know, when you can ask those hard questions that maybe the film didn't answer.
Right. So let's take a look real quickly at the trailer, a part of the trailer for the My Ascension. She's from that small parish in Louisiana, very popular student, very well known, cheerleader, all kinds of things. You'd think she'd have the perfect life going, which she probably did, but didn't realize it at the time. But here's kind of how that documentary begins, and Troy will be showing that, of course, when she makes her appearances here in Iowa.
If Emma Benoit is gone, then no one has to think about her anymore. No one has to worry about her anymore. She's gone, and that's it.
911, what's that?
Oh my God, my daughter shot herself.
Okay, is she breathing?
Yes, ma'am, she's breathing. Stay with me, baby girl, please.
I want you to say now, every single time she takes a breath in.
Now. Now. Now.
I didn't have a clue she was struggling.
Seeing her in ICU, she looked broken. Completely.
You start thinking immediately, where did I go wrong? Cheerleader, great grades in school, popular. Not Emma.
They said I may walk or I may not. They said there's a 1% chance that I will. For as long as I can remember, I have struggled with anxiety and depression. Well, it's the first time I've ever admitted that.
There is no age that is more likely to think about suicide and attempt suicide than high school kids.
We're afraid to talk about suicide. We think if we talk about it, it's going to give someone the idea. When the reality is young people don't want to die.
When you first saw that film, what was your reaction to that? I was stunned. I haven't seen the full film, but I've seen bits and pieces of it, and enough to, I was pretty stunned by what happened,
Yeah, it was stunning. One of the things that we like to do is obviously never show the film when people are just sitting at home alone, because that's how I watched it for the first time.
Okay.
And it's pretty emotional, and it's nice to be around other people when that happens. And I think to kind of go along with what you said earlier, you look at her from the outside, it looks like everything is just perfect. And that so many times is the case when we lose someone to suicide, and that's why we don't see it, because they mask it so well. And what she's gone through to get back to where she is today is truly an amazing story. I mean, the hope that she had that things would get better, you know, just everything about how that downward spiral turned into what it is today is just amazing.
So specifically, when is Emma going to be here, Troy?
So she will arrive here on October 20th. That first event will be in Hampton, Iowa. That's a community event, 6 p.m., open to the public. And then she's going to be working through various schools. I know Nevada's on the list. I know Dyke New Hartford, Cedar Falls, Fairfield. And then October 23rd will be another community event, and that will be in Cedar Falls at the Diamond Event Center, part of Western Home. It's where we had her last year when she was here. 6 p.m. start time, no registration, doesn't cost anything, just come show up and take in Emma's word.
Yeah, when she comes in and speaks, I know people have talked about how moved they were by, and here's this young person who's now paralyzed, probably for the rest of her life, but being an inspirational person, talking about the mistake that she made. And what caught me about that is when she said as soon as she pulled the trigger, she regretted it. And that really hit me hard there when I heard that.
Yeah, I think there's a moment like that for a lot of people when they go through a suicide attempt. It was years and years ago, I read an article about people who have lost their life by hanging themselves, and they say that a very high percentage of when they find them, they have their hands in here
trying to get back out, knowing they made that mistake. So let's go back a little bit about how you and your co-founder Ryan Nesbitt founded Alive and Running, because you had a tragedy even when you were in high school, long time ago.
Yeah. long, just not long, just long.
But
a long time ago,
but
yeah.
obviously it stuck with you. This is why you created Alive and Running, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, when we were sophomores in high school, we lost a very good friend of ours. A similar story to Emma. I mean, a great athlete, had a lot of friends, National Honor Society honor roll student. From the outside, looked like a lot of good things were happening in his life. But after it happened and we look back, we saw all the warning signs. But when you're tunnel visioned as a teenager, it's really hard to even think that you would lose a friend that way.
And I think Roger you guys were sophomores that year? So
yes.
That's pretty, I mean, you're 14 or 15 at the time. And a lot of things are twirling through your mind and swirling around. And yeah, if you could have done something, but you couldn't at that time. You didn't really know much about it. So much more has come out about looking for warning signs and that type of thing. We've had Tom Ikas on our program many times with you, talking about some of the warning signs that they pick up through, Blackhawk Grundy Mental Health Center. And those have helped too. So what's the word you're trying to get out through Alive and Running?
The word that we want to get out is that it can be prevented. You have to be able to know how to intervene at the time, which is, we teach a QPR training, which is question, persuade, refer. And that's all what that is. It's what to do in that critical moment when someone says, I don't want to be here anymore, or I'm thinking about taking my own life. And how can you intervene in that, ask the right questions, persuade them to a professional, and then know where to refer them afterwards. And that's really the whole point of bringing Emma along. That's a point of our trainings, is to equip everyday people with the skills that they need just to step in. You don't need to be a professional, but just how to get them to a professional and get them help, because sometimes just 10 seconds can make all the difference.
I was going to say, what happens in a school or a community setting when you give that presentation?
It's about a 90-minute program. It's very interactive. I mean, obviously it's all evidence-based. It's not our program. It's a national accredited program, much like CPR is for physical health. This is for mental health. And there's a little bit of role-playing involved. There's a little bit of putting you in that tough situation to ask a hard question. Are you thinking about dying by suicide? Are you thinking about taking your life? We role play that a little bit, and just giving them information, a lot of warning signs, and then obviously the resources of making sure that people who go through there know, where do I tell my friend to go? Where do I take my family member at 11 o'clock at night?
And one of the things we've talked about over the last year, the new 988 mental health crisis line that you can call 24 hours a day. What do you know about that, and how is that working? I know they've gotten a lot of calls.
Yeah, ever since it went to 988, the usage of it has more than quadrupled. I think, one, it's easier, and also at that point it became a text line as well. So we live in that world today where some people still have a hard time articulating feelings and stuff like that. So you can text a number or you can call it, so they get a lot of text conversations. And like you said, they're 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. There's never a time when someone's not available to help. And these are all licensed professionals. This is not a hobby for them. This is not a volunteer situation. They're employees that are helping people every single day, all hours of the day.
And how do you see the future of Alive and Running? How would you like to expand? You have your great event in June, always around Father's Day weekend, with the ceremony, the remembrance ceremony, and your 5K. What else do you think you'll be doing the rest of the year?
Well, we're going to continue to reach out in the community in different facets. So whether that be a Blackhawks game, we've done Bucks games.
Oh yeah, good.
We've been going into businesses that you wouldn't really think that would think about bringing us in, where they deal with trauma and they deal with stresses of the career. One that we did recently was with a company that does bill collections, and went through a QPR training with them, as far as, sometimes the people they're calling to collect that are not in a good spot.
Right.
And how to maybe help them a little bit. So just continuing to diversify, because suicide doesn't know any limits.
Now that's interesting that you mentioned that about an agency like that, where it'd be stressful on both ends, the people making the calls and the one receiving the call that might be in a bad way at that time in their life. So for you personally, this is very much a passion of your life, isn't it?
Yeah, very much so. It started off to just be a little 5K run walk. Maybe 100 people will show up to. It's literally a part of my life every single day, whether it's taking a text, taking a phone call, working through social media aspects of it, being at events. It's truly turned into just a passion and a way of life.
Alive and Running is a non-profit, but you do raise money through your race in Father's Day weekend and things like that, and you're actually putting those funds that you do obtain from donations and around the public and different businesses. What are you doing with that money?
We always try to put it back into the Cedar Valley, into Iowa. in an area where it can help somebody. So recently, Ron, we did an agreement with Unity Point Health here, right in Waterloo, and we donated $8,000 towards some outdoor furniture. So we all know what a difference it makes to be outside, and now they'll have the ability to go outside and have therapy sessions with patients out there as opposed to always being indoors. So they're super excited about it. We should be going and taking pictures anytime now. I know they're installing this stuff, and once it gets done, we'll take some pictures for social media and press releases and stuff. But super excited about that program for Unity, and they know what a benefit it is to get people outdoors.
That's right. We talked about Tom Ekus and Black Hawk Grundy Mental Health Center. That's under the umbrella of Unity Point. So that's fantastic. $8,000 donation goes a long way.
Yeah.
And the company that makes this furniture, it's unique, isn't it? I mean, what they make.
Yeah, it's very unique. So they specialize in mental health furniture, and it's kind of like anything, Ron. Until you get into something, you don't even realize that there's specialties for it. But they make sure there's no sharp edges, nothing's exposed.
Wow.
They can't take any screws out, and they also they'll measure an area and make sure that the amount of furniture in there is not going to put people too close together or make them feel isolated. So it's very scientific how they do it, and the furniture, it cannot be picked up. So someone couldn't get angry in a session and want to throw something. So it's just very secure, and we're super happy to work with them again.
And then this will be out at the Unity Point Main Hospital off of 63 there, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, that's fantastic. What a great idea. You're putting the funds to great use, Troy. There's no doubt about that. You must feel really good about that as an individual. And then you have a board that's kind of oversees and they're all volunteers for your nonprofit. Why don't you tell who's on that?
Yeah, absolutely. So our board members are all volunteers. They all work outside of your full-time career. So myself, I'm obviously on the board. Ryan's wife, Melissa, is on the board. My brother, Tom, is on the board. My wife, Candace, is on the board. And then Robbie Wheeler is on the board. He's kind of our tech guru, helps us when we got to get out into these events and make sure things work. Tessa Mangrich is on our board. She's from Hudson, and she helps pay bills, and write checks for $8,000 furniture. And then Kobe Schwartz is one of our newer board members, been with us for a couple of years. Phenomenal job at fundraising and outreach into areas that we previously were not in. So super happy with our board and the work that they do.
Why don't we give the dates again for when Emma's coming and where she'll be?
Yeah, so she'll be here for October 20th is her first day. She'll be in Iowa, and that's a community event in Hampton, Iowa. And then we've got several school events tagged around. She's going to be in Nevada, Dyke, New Hartford, Cedar Falls schools, and Fairfield schools. And then October 23rd, she'll be here in the Cedar Valley at the Diamond Event Center in Cedar Falls, which is part of Western Home. That's where we had her last time too. Both those community events start at 6 p.m. The information is on our website, but October 23rd here in Cedar Falls, October 20th in Hampton, Iowa for a community event. Everyone's welcome. It's free. Just come and enjoy.
I was going to say, no charge at all. Free, walk in. You don't have to register ahead of time, or do you want registration? No, just come in.
Yeah, just come on in.
Troy Belmer, co-founder of Alive and Running. Always great to have you on. The work that you're doing in suicide awareness and prevention. Keep it up. It's amazing. It really is. All right, that's it for this part of the Steele Report. We'll be back to talk about more things in just a minute. And welcome back as we wrap up this edition of the Steele Report. A programming note for next week's program. We're going to bring you another candidate interview. And our guest next week will be current 1st District Congresswoman Dr. Marionette Miller Meeks. And then the following week, we'll have her opponent, Democratic challenger Christina Bohannon, a great rematch from 2022 in Iowa's 1st Congressional District. That's it for this week. As always, thanks for watching.